Hello there, and welcome to the Time Machine with Trish and Mike. I'm Mike.
And I'm Trish.
And we're glad you're with us once again. Hello, Trish. How are you today?
I am excellent.
Good, because if you weren't excellent, this would be a very awkward show.
Yeah, it would be. Just start bursting into tears. It's like I'm fine.
I'm okay.
Just keep going with the show. Just keep going. No, all is well. The sun is shining. The tank is clean.
The tank is clean.
The tank is clean.
Okay.
Little homage to Nemo.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were referring to like a personal tank or something. Like,
no, I always love that quote where it's like, "Good morning, everyone. Today's the day. The sun is shining. The tank is clean. The tank is clean."
Okay. I was like, I didn't know you were going to be that open with everybody. That you're, you've completed the full Magellan before the show or something.
No,
okay.
We're not going back no reference to the full Magellan.
Okay. Just making sure.
Goodness.
Now that everybody's up to speed on Trish's bowel habits.
That's like what, episode 13?
Something like that. Just listen to all of them.
Go look for the full Magellan, people. You won't be disappointed.
Whatever episode it was we talked about Magellan, it's in there.
Yeah. It's in there. It's in the title.
Yeah. I think it is. If not, it's in the description. It's there somewhere.
The weather's getting nice here. I know your weather's getting too hot there.
Yes, it was. Although I got to say, I went to Universal last week, and it wasn't too bad that day. It was like low 80s. It was kind of cloudy, a little bit of a breeze, so it wasn't too bad that day.
That's like just below the 30s here, right? Because I like 70, and 71 is about 21 degrees here.
Oh, okay. And I think that's what you said it was earlier, like this past weekend or something for you, right? I think you went on like a walk or something with your girls.
Sunny, 21 degrees, and it was gorgeous.
I wish it was that.
With a light breeze. I'm sorry, I'm making it worse.
No, well, like this is my problem. When it gets hot here in the summer, as you'll learn whenever you come during the summertime, that it gets so like it's just hot and there's no wind.
Ew.
Like I could deal with it being 93, although I'd complain. But if we could get a little breeze, it wouldn't. I mean, you get like a breeze at the beach or something, obviously, but
right, it's obviously breezier when you're on the coast, but you're inland.
Right.
So not so breezy.
Not so much. No.
Well, we've already determined I'm not going to visit Florida during the summer anyway.
Yeah, but your options are kind of limited. So
it'll be March break.
Yeah.
We have a fall break.
Oh, there you go. Well, the fall can be hit or miss down here. It could still be hot, or it can be kind of
hurricanes.
Pleasant. Yeah, there's those two. You know where they don't have hurricanes?
Where?
Oklahoma.
They have tornadoes.
They do. On April 22nd, 1889, the land rush of 1889. So
fitting title.
Yeah, right. Makes sense. It's like the land rush of 1889. I wonder what year that happened. 1912. Now, in Oklahoma, long story short, there's a whole backstory to it, but there were land in Oklahoma that was ceded to the United States by the Muskogee and Seminole Indian tribes following the Civil War because they basically picked the wrong side, and as part of this, when the North beat the South, they had to give land. And
what shook out was this land.
Yeah, so they wind up giving the U.S. land that no tribes had been settled on, and the area winds up being almost 2 million acres.
It's a lot of land.
Yes, it's a lot of land. So an acre is 43,560 square feet. So if you were to have an acre be totally square, it would be about 208 feet by 208 feet.
It's funny because in Canada, we do still utilize that. We use acres and we talk about feet. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you do talk about feet.
We would know what that is.
Yeah. So
I mean, I could do a quick calculation on how many
Well,
meters.
okay. I mean, that's like, a meter and a yard are very similar. So it would be like about 60 yards by 60 yards, roughly.
Do we want meters? Do we want yards? What do we want?
We'll do meters because that's what our metric friends do. But I'm just in my head, I'm going, a football field is 100 yards. So that's 300 feet. So
Right. So 208 square feet. Oh, I don't want square
just
feet.
208 feet. Like, I'm
208.
trying to help you visualize a square.
Yeah. 208 feet into meters is about 63 meters.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
because a meter and a yard are about 3 feet each,
Okay.
roughly. So that was close.
You were close.
Napkin math, it works. Anyway,
I love that. I'm going to use that term now.
napkin math.
I've never heard of napkin math.
Yeah, it's a thing. Maybe it's an American thing, but it's a Canadian thing now.
It's now a Canadian thing. I'm using it.
Anyway, they've got almost 2 million acres that's going to be wide open, and the federal government is going to offer it to non-Native Americans for settlement in Oklahoma. It's basically kind of in the middle of Oklahoma. So at high noon, they fire a gun, and about 50,000 people lined up to rush in on foot and on their stagecoaches and on their horses and everything to go, just like Black Friday. The mall's door opens and off you go claim your land.
Isn't that is that in that movie that Tom Cruise is in?
That is
where they have
Yep.
They have the stake. Wow. The stake, and they're running and you plant it.
Yes, in Far and Away.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Far and Away. That's the one.
With Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman.
Kidman.
Yep, that's exactly what this is. So it's just like, the gun goes off and there's just people on horseback and wagons, and it just dust, and everyone's just going. And by the
chaos.
And by the end of the day, the 2 million acres of land had fully been claimed.
Wow, that's incredible to think about.
That's a lot.
You think of all this free, wide open land, and just 24 hours claimed, or like less than 24 hours.
Yeah, and especially for back then to have it. Whoa, we went through. I mean, I don't even know if you could claim 2 million acres now in 24 hours. If I'm being honest with you, I think there'd be so much hoopla and everything you'd have to go through.
Well, these people were ready. They were on it. Clearly, they advertised it very well.
They did something. So by the end of the day, both Oklahoma City and Guthrie, Oklahoma had established cities of about 10,000 people.
Wow.
So literally in
cities overnight.
In half a day. Breakfast time, there's nobody here. By dinner time, we have a city of 10,000 people.
That's incredible. That's really crazy.
Kind of crazy.
Astounding.
Mm-hmm. So, streets had been laid out, town lots had been staked off, and they had begun moving forward with forming a government and everything. And in fact, Guthrie, Oklahoma, became the original territorial capital. And in 1907, it was chosen as the first state capital of Oklahoma. And then voters chose Oklahoma City, which had grown to be a larger city, in 1910 to become the new state capital, which it still is to this day. Ironically, Guthrie, Oklahoma only has about 10,000 people in it to this day.
Oh, so they never grew past the original population?
Yeah. Huh. So that's kind of interesting. But settlers began improving their land, and by the second week, schools were open.
What? That is like some organizational miracle. Like, streets are laid out, schools are being planned and organized, kids are attending school.
Yeah, schools were open.
Crazy.
It was being taught by volunteers that were being paid for by the students' parents until they could establish school districts. Within a month, they had 5 banks open.
Wow.
And 6 newspapers. I mean, they did not waste any time establishing these cities.
Like, we are living here now.
Pretty much. Yeah, I found that to be quite interesting. I just imagine this, just like runners in a race. The gun goes off and off you go.
Well, and this would never happen. Can you imagine trying to get a group of people organized enough to
there's no way
create banks and newspapers and schools? It just wouldn't happen.
Mm-mm.
They need to teach us how they did this.
Yeah.
Need some organizational miracle.
I feel like if there's not a good documentary on this, there needs to be, because I think this would be a pretty interesting thing to go back and be able to do a real deep dive on.
It'd be interesting to also then look at the current city and see if you can see how the current city is kind of on top of the original foundations that they laid out.
Oh, that would be
That'd be kind of
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, because with cities change over time and
Mhm.
roads and that sort of thing, but to see what the layout would have been, or just to see from an aerial perspective how the city has grown outward.
Yeah, or if there's any elements of that original establishment there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just too much of a nerd.
No, I'm sure there has to be
Like,
something.
show me these city plans.
Yeah.
But your comment about schools actually brings me into our next topic, which is the first school that is going to be established in America. So Boston Latin School is the oldest school in America. It's going to be founded on April 23rd, 1635 by the town of Boston. And it's going to predate Harvard College by more than a year. And the curriculum of the school is centered on the humanities, which sounds like my kind of school. And its founder started with the ancient Greeks with the belief that only good things are the goods of the soul, is kind of their whole philosophy. And so they would focus primarily on ancient Greek and Roman philosophy and literature. So the establishment of the school was mostly due to the great measure of the Reverend John Cotton, who sought to create in the New World a school like the Free Grammar School, which is a Latin and Greek were taught, and the classes are held in the home of the pastor, Philemon Pormote, which is kind of an interesting last name. From the Pormote. I hope I'm saying that right. Pormort.
That's how I'd say it.
Okay. From the earliest years, the town assigned public funds to the support of the school. So again, kind of interesting that you in Oklahoma, they have the parents pooling money. Here they already have a town funded, and so they're pulling funds from the town, I guess. And it was eventually voted to allow forever 50 pounds to the master, a house, and 30 pounds to the usher, which was the title now for assistant teacher. In 1638, Pormote's assistant, Daniel Maud, would then succeed the original teacher and become the master, and conducted classes out of his home until 1643. Eventually, they're going to build an actual school, and it's if you Google it, it's actually very, very interesting, the changes of moving from the pastor's home into an actual building, and then looking at who the teachers, originally starting with obviously religious personnel, pastors, and then moving into secular individuals. And the last, I think, 3 heads of the school have all been very influential women, which has been really interesting reading about them. You could go off on a whole deep dive on each of these women. But of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, 5 had been pupils of the school. So John Hancock, Samuel Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Robert Payne, and William Hooper, which I thought was really kind of interesting.
That is kind of cool.
I mean, I know 56 is still a large number to only have 5 from one school.
But how many schools were there back then? I mean,
yeah, probably not too many.
Right. So to have 5 there is still significant.
And especially some that I recognize, right? As a Canadian, I don't always know a lot of the founding fathers' names.
Right.
So
but
Hancock, I know.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Got to sign your Hancock. Benjamin Franklin, of course. Samuel Adams. There was that excellent, didn't HBO have a really interesting mini-series on Samuel Adams?
Sure.
Oh. Or I could be thinking of someone else.
I don't know.
I can't remember now.
Makes good beer.
William Hooper, I have no idea. Yeah, I do know the beer. So maybe that's where I'm getting the name. William Hooper.
Samuel Adams, always a good decision. That's the advertising.
That's their slogan?
Their slogan. Always a good decision.
I don't know if they use it always a good decision.
Not if you're going to sign something important like the Declaration of Independence.
That's right. I actually learned, what is it? Not all of the founding, that some of the things were misspelled on the Declaration of Independence.
That I believe, but never sign legal documents while you're drunk.
No. That's a big no-no.
No, don't do that.
Doesn't it actually make it void if you're under the influence? Because I know when I was getting married, if the priest, we weren't allowed to sign the paper if he smelled any alcohol, because he was like, nope, it's null and void. You're not in your right frame of mind. Like he was like, this is a legal document.
Yeah, but the issue you'd have is proving that you were not in. It's like if you do a drunk Vegas wedding. I mean, okay, you could tell these
True.
people are drunk, but we'll take your $50 and here's Elvis and have your wedding. I mean,
Well, and what's nice in the United States too is if you want to get a divorce, it can happen very quickly, right? So
yeah,
if you were under the influence and they found that like this was a bad decision,
Ross and
very,
Rachel.
very quickly. Yes, Ross and Rachel.
Yeah.
Yeah, thought it was cool. That's a really old school, 1635. That's a
Is it
long time ago.
still in operation today?
It's still in operation today.
That's pretty cool.
They still have quite a few students that attend. It seems very prestigious from what I was reading. I was like, "Ooh, this is like
Oh, I'm sure it's like
this is
an
a
elite
fancy school."
It's an elite private school for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
still,
looks beautiful.
the
Those
fact,
old campuses look great.
yeah, the fact that you can trace your lineage of your school back to
Hmm.
what 400 years ago, that's
That's kind of
that's
incredible.
pretty significant. Yeah,
Mhm.
almost 500 at this point. When did you
I
say it
know,
was 16? What?
1635. Do some
So,
napkin math.
well, no, I mean 485 years ago.
Yep. So you're
So,
right, almost 500.
so here pretty soon, like there are kids being born now that are going to go to the school and graduate in the 500th year of that school.
Yeah, and they have they traced some of the lineage, so it's really interesting to see some of the alumni come back and then take over administrative duties
Oh, that's really cool.
after having been a part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. Like
really.
the high school I went to celebrated its 50th year when I graduated. So I was part of the 50th graduating class.
Mhm.
So that's kind of cool.
That's actually cool.
Yeah, we
My
actually.
mom was the last original staff member to retire from my high school.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she retired the year after I graduated.
We actually had special medals that we got for our
Ooh,
graduation
you
to
still got it?
recognize it. Oh yeah. Mhm. I don't have it like
Nice.
handy nearby that I could show you right now, but yeah, I still have it. I still have all
That's-
my graduate. I still have my robe. I have my hat. I still have my tassel. I have my cords. Yeah.
We never got to keep the robe, but we did get to keep our hat, which is obviously in my house in Nova Scotia. I didn't pack that up with me
Mhm.
after I left university. But we never got tassels. That's like seems like an American
Oh,
thing.
really? You don't do
We
the
get
thing
them.
where you move from
Oh,
the side,
oh, I thought you meant the
the cords, the ropes,
cords. Yeah, we don't get
cords?
that.
Oh yeah, we get those. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, we do get the tassel when you move it to the side, but not any like honorary. I don't remember any honorary. In university, yes, you do,
Gotcha.
but
Yeah.
not in high school.
Yeah. Well, we have to buy our robes, so like yeah,
Oh, we
we're
just
getting to
rent.
keep. I mean, it was. I want to say a robe was $20 maybe or
Oh,
something.
that's not too bad.
$25. I mean, it wasn't one of these heavy duty like thick college professionals, kind of. I mean, it's
Right.
you know. I
Yeah.
mean, when you have a graduating class of like 650, 700 people, I mean, you mass produce the crap and you get $20 out of everybody. Yay, we made money.
Right. And everyone looks good for the
Yeah,
one day that you're wearing it,
exactly. So like
or the couple of hours.
well, in my school, so our colors are orange and white. So
Oh,
the
okay.
the
Ooh,
guys wear
bright.
orange,
Yeah.
and the girls wear white.
Oh, I bet that would look really lovely, actually.
Yeah,
We
it's
just all wore blue. Our colors were blue and white.
but everybody wore blue.
Yeah, we all wore blue. So it looked nice. I actually ran into a girl from my hometown the other day getting a Starbucks, but
Oh
she
wow.
didn't actually make it to high school. So I was like, that's why I probably don't know you,
Oh,
because she moved to Ontario before high school started. So, oh. But you never run into people don't normally when you say like, oh, I'm from Antigonish. They're like, where? But this girl was like, oh my God, me too.
that's kind of crazy. That's
Yeah.
cool that you, especially out as far west in
West
Canada
as I
as
am,
you are.
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if
And
you were in Toronto or something, maybe. But
right. And we only have 2 high schools in our area. So I was like, did you go to this one? And she's like, I actually left before high school started. And I was like, oh,
still,
small world.
yeah, it is a small
Yeah.
world. And speaking of small world and blue and white, that takes us to Montreal, where
It does take us to Montreal.
on April 27th, 1967, Expo 67 opened. This was a World's Fair that was held in Montreal, Quebec, Canada from April 27th to October 29th, 1967, and is one of the most successful World's Fairs of the 20th
Ooh.
century.
I know there was a big deal about a lot of swag, and we have stamps and all kinds of things commemorating it here in Canada.
Yes, it winds up being the most attended World's Fair. Over 62 nations participated and had the single day attendance record for a World's Fair with over 569,000 visitors on the third day of the fair.
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people to go to an event.
I'm not used to it with my COVID brain thinking about being around that many people.
I don't think a lot of people can grasp being around 500,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm trying to think the largest crowd I've ever been in. I mean, I've been to a race at Daytona with probably maybe 150,000 people, but we're kind of spread out. And at the time, with the way the seating was at the track, there was seating on the front stretch and there was seating on the back stretch. So you don't even have everybody like all in one place. Now they've redone the track and all the seating's on the front stretch, and it's a massive wall of people. But 500,000 people, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. I think the biggest crowd I've been in was WonderCon in 2019, was 60, according to, the handy dandy Google, it was 60,000 people in attendance. But you're, again, very spread out over a big convention site.
Right. I mean, I've been in
I've
been in football stadiums with, 75,000, 80,000 people. Still, this is way more than that. But
way more.
Originally, Moscow was going to have the 1967 fair to celebrate the Russian Revolution's 50th anniversary. However, the Soviets wound up deciding to cancel because of financial constraints and security concerns. So Montreal's new mayor, Jean Drapeau, lobbied the Canadian government and said, hey, let's make a run for this. And so the Bureau International des Expositions met and awarded the 1967 World's Fair to Montreal.
Your French sounded real legit there.
Thank you. Maybe it was the French fries I had for lunch, but
influence. Nice.
Yeah, and so as you said, it wound up being a very significant moment in Canadian history. And in fact, the Montreal Expos baseball team that began playing in 1969, that was where they got their name, from the 67 Expo.
Oh, it became like this really defining, like identifying moment for Canada for quite a while. So I know there was a lot of pride. I mean, it was way before my time. I wasn't born, but I know a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of really interesting documentaries and talking about the mascot and the different, different presentations that were there, and people coming from all over to participate.
And did you know, and I'm going to say you probably didn't know.
Probably don't know.
So countries have to be members of the Bureau International des Expositions to compete for the rights to bid for these. You'd be like kind of in the Olympics, like you can't host an Olympics if you don't participate in an Olympics.
Right.
Kind of,
yeah, that makes sense.
To use that analogy. So the U.S.'s membership was actually revoked in June of 2001 due to non-allocation of funds by U.S. Congress for over 2 years. So basically, we weren't chipping in. So they're like, hey, you're out of the club, pal.
Are you guys still out? Did you get back in?
We got back in on May 10th, 2017.
You guys were out of the club for a while.
We were. So President Trump signed into law the U.S. wants to compete for a World Expo Act because Minnesota was interested in hosting one in 2023.
Oh, wow. That's actually really interesting because it tends to go against a lot of his more, like, I know his presidency was about a lot of like nationalism and like, focusing on just the US and not really so much international as much.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting that he wanted to spend funds on this like international organization. But I guess then it does create national pride when you host it.
Exactly. And I think that was probably his reasoning for it. So this begs the question, because you don't really hear about World's Fair or World Expos or anything anymore being a thing. They're still a thing. They have continued to be a thing. And in fact, I am going to call out your dear sister to be our correspondent later this year.
Is there one this year?
So
in Dubai?
Expo 2020 was supposed to be in Dubai, but obviously due to COVID, they have postponed it. So Expo 2020 Dubai will now take place from October 1st through March 31st. Is she back by
She
then?
won't be there.
Ah,
Well, I mean, I don't actually know because I know Matthew will be done school by then and she'll be done her teaching contract. Now, if they get a job and they choose to stay there because of course, networking. So I
okay.
don't know if they'll still be there in October. But
If
is,
she
we are going to
is,
send her off on a mission.
yes, Andy, we will have you be our special correspondent.
Mm.
I will personally pay for you to go to the fair and bring you on as a guest here to explain your
The whole adventure.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Where's the one after Dubai? Do
So
we
in
know?
yes, in 2023. So I'm thinking this is the one that Minnesota was trying to get. That one will actually
Yeah.
be in Buenos Aires, Argentina,
Mm. We
and
don't know
in
anyone there.
no, and then in 2025 in Osaka, Japan.
Ooh, that'd be a good one to try and go. I mean, I want to go to Buenos Aires and I want to go to Japan. So those are both good ones to try and plan for if COVID will let us resume life again.
Yeah. So do you want how
Mm.
much tickets, by the way, are for this thing? Because I said I will literally I will pay for her
I'm
to go.
like, Trish and math, man, why do you do this to me?
So a 1 day ticket for the Dubai Expo
Uh-huh.
costs 120 dirham. I don't know
Okay.
if I pronounced that right, but I'm sure Andy's screaming at her podcast device saying, "No, you said it wrong." It translates to 32 US or 40 Canadian dollars.
Ooh, that's really affordable.
So it's very affordable. So
Yeah.
I'm down with this. I will
You're down. You're already there. You don't have to pay for plane tickets to
right.
get
Like
there.
I'm
So
good. Go. I'll even throw in a few extra bucks for you so you can use your liquor license on the way home that you got so
well,
that you
and
can
for any of the interesting food that'll be at the World Fair, because I'm sure they have some pretty great things.
yeah. I know this is like a US Canadian show, but we really if we could ever get the time zones worked out,
Yeah.
get her on here to kind of explain a little bit of that Dubai life to
Yeah, because
us.
it's from what she's told me about, or what she's not the best at getting things up on her stories just because she's ridiculously busy. But I want to learn more about that way of life because it is so different.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Trish, and I think we may have explained this in the first episode, but
Right.
originally Trish and her sister Andy did a podcast where that was going to kind of be
Yeah, the
how
whole
the
premise
whole
of the
premise of the
show was
show.
what it was like to live overseas in this very different country than Canada. And then COVID hit and life hit, and the time zones are just ridiculous. Either I'm up really, really early to talk to her, or she's up really, really late, or vice versa. And it never really, it didn't fit into how busy everything was over there and how busy we got over here. But
Maybe sometime during the summer or something when things are a little bit
yeah,
easier, we could make that happen. Like
yeah.
a
I'm
special
hoping when
episode.
I'm off work and when she's off work, because we
Yeah.
both end our teaching contracts around the same time. So maybe we'll be able to have a
Yeah.
bonus episode.
Yeah. That sounds fun.
Well, and speaking of Montreal, that takes us into the St. Lawrence Seaway, which is another American Canadian connection for those of you that haven't heard of the St. Lawrence Seaway. It's going to open officially on April 25th, 1959. The first vessel is going to enter through the shipping route, which is the icebreaker, d'Iberville, and the official ceremony will take place with Queen Elizabeth II, sorry, Prince Philip, who of course sadly passed away not too long ago, Prime Minister John Diefenbaker, and President and Mrs. Dwight D. Eisenhower in attendance. It's going to cost 470 million Canadian, 336.2 million was paid by the Canadian government, and then Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, American Prime Minister Dwight Eisenhower are going to go through this beautiful new seaway on a ship called the Royal Yacht, the HMY Britannia, after addressing crowds in St. Lambert, Quebec. 22,000 workers were employed at one time on the project, and it's 2,300-mile long superhighway for ocean freighters.
Nice job with your French.
My French is actually really poor. I only took it up until like grade 10, and I only took it to grade 10 because my mom was like, universities need another language, blah, 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 which of course the requirements changed now, but I used to be much better at it. I just haven't had any practice.
I wish I had taken French.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a beautiful language. And what's great about French is if you know French, you can learn Italian and Spanish really easily.
Yeah. So at the time, my high school only offered Spanish, French, Latin, and I think German.
Oh, see, those would all be cool.
And obviously Spanish is a little more
Yeah.
practical here in Florida.
Hmm.
You're going to get a little more use out of it. But my Spanish teacher, she was from somewhere down in the Caribbean. I don't
Okay.
want to say like Jamaica, but somewhere down there. So she has a very heavy like Jamaican
Oh,
accent
accent
when
for
she
the
talks.
pronunciation.
Right. So it was
Mhm.
very, I would say, challenging
Yeah.
learning Spanish from her because
Hmm.
she's saying things, and sometimes she was kind of a little interesting to begin with, to put it
Language teachers
nicely.
can be.
Yeah, and so sometimes she would just start talking to us, and we're just like, we literally don't
Ah.
understand what you're saying.
And see, and Canadian French is very different than like French. And then you throw in Acadian, and it's like, what are you even saying anymore? Because Acadians are a mixture group that have French roots that originated in the Atlantic provinces of Canada. So sometimes we can have weird accents with our French, and people from France are like, I don't know what you're saying. Or if you go to Quebec and have that accent is different than the Acadian French. So, but
Anyway,
I wish I had taken the languages more seriously because I had my French teacher in grade 7 said I was actually quite good at it. And then between grade 7 and grade 10, I just kind of let it drop. Irish Gaelic, I'm your girl.
okay.
It's also not that great since I haven't taken it since, oh God, what, 2003, 2004?
Oh, so you're an expert. You
I'm an
could just,
expert.
yeah, you got this.
It's actually, the St. Lawrence Seaway is kind of cool. I didn't actually realize that so it connects the Atlantic Ocean right over by my neck of the woods in Nova Scotia,
Hmm.
goes through the Great Lakes, and it goes as far inland as Duluth, Minnesota, on the western end of Lake Superior. I didn't realize
Really?
it went quite so far.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's yeah, I wouldn't. That's a pretty decent ways because that's what probably about 40% of the way through the United States. Like it's
yeah.
not quite halfway because people don't realize just how big the western half of the U.S. is.
Yeah, and it's a joint project, so it's controlled. A number of the locks and sections of it are controlled by the St. Lawrence Seaway Management Corporation in Canada. And then on the other side in the United States, it's by the St. Lawrence Seaway Development Corporation. And the two bodies together advertise the Seaway as, and I love this, Highway H2O.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that cute?
I do like that.
So now if anyone ever asks you on a trivia or you see Jeopardy, what is Highway H2O? You will know it's the St. Lawrence Seaway.
Why should that be a question on like this week's episodes? Wouldn't
Wouldn't
that be
that be
so?
so cool?
That would be. Well, here I've got a Jeopardy question for you.
Okay.
This film premiered on April 26th, 2019, and would go on to gross $2.823 billion.
Ooh, I'm trying to think where. So, what happened? What big movie? Oh, I think I have an answer. Can I guess?
You may.
What is Endgame?
I'm sorry. We were looking for what is Avengers Endgame.
Stickler for those details.
I was so ready to buzz you because I was thinking you're just going to answer and not phrase it in the form of a question.
No way, I was ready.
And then you were on it, so I got to give you props for that. So good for you. But I think I don't know. Would you have gotten that wrong on Jeopardy if you just said Endgame? Because I think you probably would.
Probably because I mean there could theoretically be another movie just called Endgame without
Right.
the Avengers part. So
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, and Alex Trebek would give you that like disapproving look, you know,
Like,
if it
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so Endgame
That's a
premiered.
lot of money.
That is 2.823 billion.
Because they surpassed before that, wasn't it Avatar or was it Titanic?
Well, this is where you get into you can play kind of funny with the numbers and how you do things because do you get into US? Do you get into worldwide? Do you count re-releases? Do you adjust for inflation? So there's
Right.
all sorts of funky ways you can do the math to say it. But the film wound up grossing more in its first 11 days than Avengers Infinity War did in its entire run.
Wow.
So Infinity War made a little over 2 billion, and this
Mhm.
surpassed that in literally
And
less than 2 weeks.
I mean, we're both big nerds,
Yeah.
right? You
Mhm.
went on opening week, I'm assuming.
I actually went like a week later.
Did you? You waited a whole week.
I was able to get through the week because I'm friends with people who are pretty good about respecting the no spoiler, and
That's
I
true.
generally just tried to avoid the internet
Yeah.
outside of like my social media circles.
Hmm.
So my thing was I couldn't go opening night, and so I didn't want to go opening weekend because I know I'm going to be in a theater next to somebody who has already seen it and is
Hmm.
seeing it for the second or third time, and so I was like, I don't want to ruin hearing something before I see it.
Yes, sitting next to someone who's obviously there again. Yeah,
Right. And
that
so
makes
the
sense.
the Russo brothers had came out and they kind of said like a gentleman's agreement between everybody,
Hmm.
like, hey, respect the band, don't spoil
Yeah,
anything.
wasn't it? They said you have 2 weeks
You
and
had
then
2 weeks,
spoilers. Yeah, that's right.
2 weekends. So the film
Yeah.
opened on the Thursday night, and by the following weekend, so like 10 days later,
Hmm.
that Sunday night, they're like, okay, we're declaring the ban lifted. If you've so at that point, I was like, okay. So I literally went on like a Monday morning. I took like half a day off of work to go see it, but it was so nice because the theater was pretty empty. There were maybe been like 10 other people in the theater with me.
That would have actually been a lot better than my time.
Yeah, so it's all spread out, and the theater I go to is amazing because it has like reclining seats, and you have your own recliners, and you can recline back, and cup holders, and it's just
It's like a
very,
real experience where you can go and just get
yeah,
immersed in the film.
and it's comfortable if you're watching a 3-hour movie. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. When since it opened Thursday, I ended up going that first Sunday,
okay,
but none of my friends could go, and my boyfriend had already seen it, so I wanted to be able to talk to him about it. So I'm like, well, screw it. I'm, an independent woman. I can just go to the movies by myself. I
it's
don't need
very,
nobody.
it's very relaxing to go to the movies by
It is.
yourself. Because you don't, it's not like you could talk to somebody. Like,
No.
people like, oh, what do we want to do on a first date? Oh, go to the movies. That's a terrible thing to do
Well, you're never
because
talking. Yeah.
you can't talk. Right.
Yeah. And maybe you don't, and afterwards, maybe you're tired if you went to see a late movie or whatever, right? Because
Yeah.
you've done dinner before the movie.
Right.
But I did a casual Mary Jane cosplay for it because I'm a big nerd.
Nice.
And I went, but it was kind of awful because I had a seat that was beside a couple, and the whole time the girl is complaining to her boyfriend about, like, I can't believe how long this movie is. We have to sit here and it's so long. And she kept saying it over and over. And she'd like check her phone partway through the movie and stuff. And the guy had to keep shushing her and like telling her it's not really that long. Like, don't worry about it. And I'm thinking in my head, like, dude, you have taken this girl to Endgame and she is complaining to this level of degree. I'm like, she is not the one. Like, you got to dump this chick because she is not for you. But
This kind of reminds me of the girl I was dating when Lord of the Rings, the last Lord of the Rings movie came out.
oh no, if you take a girl to Lord of the Rings and she's talking or complaining, dump her.
Oh
Not the
no, no, it was opposite. She
you.
she was obsessed with it, and me trying to be the good boyfriend. I'm like, oh, I'll go. And mind you, she'd already seen the movie like once or twice at this point with her family, and so she's like, I want to go see it. I'm like, okay, and I'm just like, it
Had
was
you seen
fine.
any of the movies before? Or was it
Yes,
the first one?
I had seen the first one.
Okay.
And then so like the night before I went to Blockbuster and rented the second one to
Oh
try
my
to
goodness.
see if I'm like it might help make some sense.
Yeah.
But it was just the third one's rather lengthy.
The third one's the best one. It's so good.
I'm sure it is, and maybe I'd have a greater
Did you
appreciation.
fall asleep?
I did not fall asleep, but
Well, that's good.
when they get to the wedding scene, I'm just like, there's still 45 minutes left in this movie. Okay. I fought the temptation to fall asleep or go out to the arcade and play Frogger or any of it. I stayed
Good
in my
man.
seat. The
Well,
things we
that's
do.
you're showing that you have a determination to be a good partner. This girl was not being a good partner at Endgame.
No,
Like, you push it, lady,
no,
or you're
she
out.
wasn't.
It's like, I almost wanted to say something, but anyway, who knows if they're still together? I highly, highly doubt
I'm gonna say no.
it.
If they weren't broke up before, I think quarantine probably did them in.
Yeah, that's true. I can't believe it's so long.
If she was complaining about Endgame being a long time.
COVID lockdowns way longer.
Yeah. So if you adjust for inflation,
Hmm.
Endgame is only the 5th highest grossing movie.
Well, because we've talked about this before on the show, where isn't it Gone with the Wind is the top grossing movie?
Yep, and it's not
Yeah.
even close. So,
Oh,
again, adjusted for inflation. So,
yes, that's key.
and that's really where the key in this comes
Hmm.
in, because Gone with the Wind, if you just take its box office dollar figure, is relatively low because movies cost very little back then.
Hmm.
But it sold so many tickets that if you adjust that price for what we now pay for a movie, it blows everything out of the water. So Endgame, 2.8 million.
Okay.
Star Wars, the original, A New Hope, Episode 4, just over 3 billion. Titanic, 3.1 billion. Avatar's 3.2 billion, and Gone with the Wind, 3.7
Wow.
billion.
That's a lot of movie tickets.
I gotta say, I'm never gonna say never, but I can't see that being broken.
Now, have you seen all of those 5 movies?
Yes.
Because I've never seen all of Gone with the Wind. I've seen snippets of Gone with the Wind, but I've never seen the whole movie.
Yeah. Now, have I seen them in one sitting? No. Like we watched Gone with the Wind in, I think it was 8th grade or something,
Oh,
and so it took us most of the week to watch because it's a
it's a
long
long
movie.
movie.
Yeah. I wonder
Yeah,
if that girl from Endgame would have made it through Gone with the Wind.
probably not.
Probably
Let's be
not.
real.
Yeah. But like
She didn't seem too historically interested either.
yeah, like it's weird because I've been wanting to really for the last year, and I know with quarantine I've had time, but I've wanted to go back and watch Gone with the Wind for some reason. I've just kind of wanted to because I'm like all these classics like Gone with the Wind, Casablanca. Like I want to
Right.
go watch all these old classic movies,
Hmm. That's a good idea.
but I just haven't
You,
yet.
I know how you say like we have so much time during quarantine, and yet it doesn't feel like there's a lot of time. It often
No.
feels like there is something always to be doing.
Speaking of quarantine
Uh-huh.
and movies and time, so I did something. Remember a few weeks back we had talked about the last Blockbuster,
Yes.
and it's a documentary on Netflix.
Did you contact them?
I did. So they have a website, and so I ordered,
I'm so
and I'm
excited.
showing Trish now.
It looks so good.
I ordered me a Blockbuster card
That's
from
amazing.
them. So I mean, it's and then we'll post this on social media, so you'll hear this, you can see it. But I mean, it's just a regular Blockbuster card like you would have gotten back in the day. It's just laminated. It's
Got to get your Sharpie and sign your name, man.
yeah. So and it literally says on the back, last Blockbuster video, Bend, Oregon, and there's a place where your name would go.
That's
Or
fantastic.
probably where a barcode would go that once you get issued a
When you are going
card.
to actually scan. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I got a sticker
Nice.
and a little note from the lady in the if you watch the documentary, the lady
Aw,
that's the general manager of the Blockbuster, and it
with a
says
smiley face.
yeah, it says thank you for your support, Bend Blockbuster team, Sandy. A little
How much did you have
smiley
to pay
face.
for that Blockbuster card?
I think it was like $3.
Oh, sweet.
I mean,
Totally
it's very
doable.
cheap, and it's just one of these little things that you're doing to kind of help a small business stay,
Yeah.
in
Afloat during
business.
these challenging times.
Yeah, and they have some other merch on there too. They have like shirts and I don't think they're taking orders for them now, but the lady actually hand knits beanies.
Oh, I'd love a hand knit beanie. They're the best.
In the
We call
Blockbuster
them
blue and
toques.
yellow.
Yeah.
Toques. Don't
Toques.
don't you call hoodies something else like penguin huggers or something?
Penguin huggers. I'm going to use that from now on with my Saskatchewan friends. So it's interesting. Most of Canada will call a hooded sweatshirt
Mm-hmm.
a hoodie.
Okay.
If they're a zip up hoodie, people in Ontario I've heard call them zip ups
Zip ups. Okay.
or hooded sweaters. And I'm like, really? Like that's so formal. And then Saskatchewan is the only place in Canada that refers to them as a bunny hug.
Bunny hug. Okay, so I was
Yeah.
half right.
Yeah. It was an animal hug. You were right. And I'm like, why a bunny hug? And they're like, because it looks like a bunny's hugging you. And I'm like, from behind. And I'm like, from behind, how does it look like a bunny's hugging you?
How does a bunny hug you? Period.
Yeah,
I mean, a Playboy bunny can hug you, but a bunny can't.
right. That would cost
Yeah,
probably.
probably. I mean, I'll take a hug from a Playboy bunny, but
I'll defer mine to you.
it's thanks. I mean, quarantine. I'll take a hug from anybody at this point.
It's true. That actually, maybe I will keep my hug.
Hugs are rare. Take them when you can get them from people.
Hugs are rare commodities.
That was like one of the weirdest things at the beginning of quarantine. I mean, just, you can't be around people, but like even when you were, like you can't, because we didn't know really how everything was at the first. So other than like my mom, I don't think I hugged anybody for probably like 4 or 5 months there for a while.
I only hugged my own daughters.
Yeah.
And when you finally and then I got into a bubble with their grandparents because we had a living arrangement where we were in the same bubble, and you would still be like, can I give you a hug? Like, it was very cautious, where normally you would be very free and open with your physical affection with one another.
Yeah. And I'm to the point now. I mean, I've limited who I go and do stuff with, obviously during quarantine. But I'm to the point where like I'll hug people, especially if I'm wearing a mask, because if I'm
you're masked and vaccinated, right?
Right. But like even kind of pre things, like because there were a handful of people I would go maybe to like have lunch with or something. But so it's like, I already have a confidence in you that you're doing the right thing. And if I've just literally sat at a table with you for an hour without a mask on while we're eating,
we're going to hug.
We might as well hug. I mean, it's if one of us gave the other one COVID, we'd already given it to each other at that point. So a hug ain't going to really be an issue.
Do anything. No.
Right.
Well, COVID's taught us, of anything, who we can trust in a zombie apocalypse. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Well, and I would always I spread out any sort of social gatherings. Like if I had lunch with somebody today, I'm not going to go have dinner with somebody tonight. I would wait 2 weeks before I'd go, or 3 weeks before I would. And it's not like I'm going to lunch every 3 weeks with somebody anyway, but I'm just in general. Like I would make it a point that
But then you're protecting yourself and protecting other people.
Exactly. Because if I got it from this person, I don't want to be the one to give it to someone else.
Yep, 100%.
So,
but won't it be great when it can be just like free hugs again? I know my coworkers and I will tap elbows. And even I have a very good friend who's she teaches in the lower cohort than me. She's a grade 5 teacher and I'm a grade 7-8 teacher. So we aren't really supposed to be in each other's bubble. So it's very strange to be working with like one of your best friends and you're just like, here's my elbow.
Yeah. No, I get it.
But... Or we do butt hugs. We bump butts. That's the other thing we do.
Butt hugs.
Yep. It's very safe. You don't have to face each other. You just...
I'll take a butt hug from a Playboy bunny too.
That might have different implications for the Playboy bunny.
They got the little fuzzy tail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just bump your little fuzzies.
Don't know if you want to refer to it as bumping fuzzies.
Bumping fuzzies.
This is now getting into a whole different conversation.
we probably need to end this show before we get
a new rating.
Yeah. And on that note, I hope you forget to return your Blockbuster tape on time and have to pay late fees. Wait, did we already use that one?
I think we did when we talked about it.
Yeah.
Like that would be a mega late fee.
Yeah.
Right now in 2021.
Can you imagine like a 10-year late fee? I don't even want to know how much that would add up to.
I'd keep it, but change my name. It's easier. I'm a new person now.
Or just move to Edmonton.
Just move to Edmonton.
Yeah, they can't find me. Anyway, but since you made it to the end of the episode, no late fees for you and no having to move across Canada to avoid.
To Edmonton.
Yes. But if you're in Oregon, by all means, go to Bend, Oregon and support these people.
Yes, 100%.
And support us by all the stuff that Trish is about to tell us how to do. Yeah.
If you have any questions, concerns, queries, freakouts, or just general comments now, you can reach us at The Time Machine with Trish and Mike at gmail.com. The Time Machine with Trish and Mike on Instagram. You go into the Google machine on YouTube and type in The Time Machine with Trish and Mike and you'll find us there too. Hit subscribe, please, and thank you, because that actually helps us be legitimized by YouTube. And we'll actually get our appropriate name on the search engine there.
Yes.
Or you can go to Anchor.
And leave us a voicemail.
Yeah. We'll pop your voice into the show and answer your question or comment on your comment.
Or something like that.
We'll do something.
Yeah. We'll do it all next week right here on The Time Machine.